So I think we're live now, Tim, and I'm
Cool.
calling this episode Reclaim Video Hauling.
I've done a lot of hauling, both on the video and the arcade side, so that's appropriate.
Although we're in a kind of a sweet spot with the
Yeah.
arcade and the video store and the living
And I
room.
didn't even have to haul these. These came directly to my doorstep, thanks to the U.S. Postal Service, back when it worked.
Well, they literally left it at our doorstep. $200 worth of tapes. Just, there you go.
That's true. Oh, it's raining? Who cares?
Hope no one takes it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there's a lot of people hoping to get boxes of VHS tapes. Let me tell you,
It's the arcade CP or PCB boards that I worry about leaving them out there.
No, it's true.
Someone would just grab them and not know. But anyway,
No.
This isn't about the U.S. Postal Service.
It's very true. Well, tell me what I'm looking at, because I got a box of tapes in and you're like, oh, this is going to be a thing. And I'm like, okay, so tell me who these came from, who's suddenly mysteriously sending us a bunch of tapes.
So I've been buying VHS tapes for several years now, I think since 2017, 18, if not longer. And the one-offs are starting to get expensive on PayPal and all that, and so or eBay, and so I'm starting to say it's not the best way to do it. So there's someone who I met at the VHS festival that we went to in North Carolina, in Raleigh, exactly, which was amazing. And his name was Dan Kinnam, and Dan Kinnam actually created or made a documentary about VHS collectors called Adjust Your Tracking, which I think you've seen too. Yeah. And it's a kind of interesting, he goes around the country and talks to these various people who have these crazy collections of VHS tapes. And actually, Dan Kinnam spent a good part of the last 15 to 20 years collecting VHS tapes himself. I think he has over 20,000 or something. And he lives up in Pennsylvania. And he said to me, if you ever want to, you should, come up with a truck and I'm always selling VHS tapes. And I've never gotten up to Pennsylvania to do that. But then I was thinking to myself, do you think he'd be willing to send us kind of a care package of random VHS tapes once a month? And we've been pretty busy. So I reached out to him and he said, I'd love to. And we've been busy, so I haven't had a time to catch up. But this is the shipment from January.
Okay.
And we have another one from February, and then soon a third one from March. But I was hoping just to get a quick rundown of the VHS tapes he sent us.
This is good. Nice. And you're more of a film buff than I am. So I don't think I'm going to recognize most of what's in here, but there's some really interesting ones I can already tell because, people donate us tapes and it's like Disney or it's, it's very rare that you get something great like Workout Grannies or something, those are the rare prizes within the bunch of Jerry Maguire tapes that might be in someone's box. So most of these I don't recognize, but they do look really interesting. So I'm excited to kind of dig in. I've got my little Wheel of Fortune over here that I'm going to be pulling from, but this is just a small selection of a big box over here of tapes. So we'll be pulling some over here.
To be fair, I don't recognize too many of them either. So it's, it's some, but not, I can't say I recognize them all.
Well, good. This is going to be a journey for us, but let's dive in. So to start, we have a sci-fi classic, and I know it's a sci-fi classic because it actually says it on the cover. This is Planet of Dinosaurs, a sci-fi classic here. Let's see. This is a maroon spaceship crew battles for survival on a deadly prehistoric planet. So,
okay, my two questions are going to be, what year? 50s? 60s?
So 1994, but I'm not sure if that was when it was cut versus when it was actually made. So let me look.
Could be.
Yeah.
Let's see, because that's one I'm not too sure of again. And who directed it, or not that that's ever going to really matter. But let's.
So James Shea is the director, and I don't know. It says 1994, Good Times Home Video Corps, but that feels like who made the tape versus.
That's right.
When it actually came out. I don't have an actual.
77. It came out in 77, and it's actually James K. Shea. And this is one I haven't seen, and I bet you if it came out on Good Times usually has the cult classics, bad sci-fi from 70s, 80s, and beyond, or whatever.
Totally.
So that's a good one. Okay, great. That's going to have to be
Awesome.
Streamed.
Now, do I hand this over to you through the magic of the internet? Is that how this is going to work?
I'd love to see it. Yeah, hand it over.
Here we go. Let me go and give this to you.
Oh wow! Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, that's interesting. It's great. I guess we'll have to. I'm going to put it over here. Okay. Now I have it in Italy. Nice. I can archive it and everything. So thank you.
This is someone that I love. This is Chuck Norris. A Chuck Norris film, Delta Force 2. So
this is obviously a classic. Let me get a full screen of you with that one.
Yeah. So this is Operation Stranghold is what that says in the subtitle there. So yeah.
If Delta Force 1 wasn't enough.
Yeah, you've got a sadistic billionaire cocaine czar, Ramon Cota. We've got a picture of him on the back too. So yeah. This is good stuff. So this was 1990, and this was directed by written director of photography.
Yeah, I don't even
Why
think.
Why can't I find the director? Yeah,
it probably doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Let's see.
An Aaron Norris film? Is it his brother? Is that how that works? It's all in the family.
Let's just see for a second. So Delta Force 2, it doesn't even have an Italian Wikipedia page. It was directed by...
Are they working at half a deck there? Like, not everything's been translated, I guess.
Let's see. This is about the Colombian connection. That's the one.
Yeah, it's directed by Aaron Norris. So I'd be curious to know, like, is Aaron related to Chuck?
Aaron Norris, he is the younger brother of action film star Chuck Norris. So you were right.
How about that? And he directed this film.
Because it's interesting too, because these started to become vehicles for these actors, right? Like, I think it's all coming out of the whole Rambo, First Blood, Bloodsport, John Van Damme, and obviously Stallone, and Norris picked up on the same thing. So it's interesting. I think we got Delta Force 1, 2 in this hall.
Do we?
Broken. It was the one broken tape.
Gotcha. All right. Moving on is a classic that we both know, actually, which is Gremlins.
And it's such a beautiful tape.
Yeah. Gremlins, a bizarre comedy, right? So this is a Spielberg movie.
Yeah. And Joe Dante, he tapped Joe Dante to direct it. And Joe Dante, probably one of he's done many films, but that's one of his big ones. He also did Twilight Zone.
If you were going to guess the year, what would you guess?
85.
God, you're right on. That's exactly it. 1985.
Yeah. We're killing it, Timmy.
Killing it.
Oh, thanks for passing that over to me too.
Yeah, no worries. I'm throwing them on I'm just putting them on your desk, if that's okay. Yeah, you just pick them up from there. The next is The Stone Killer. So there's the tape there.
Charlie Bronson, right?
Do you know this? Yes, absolutely. Charlie Bronson.
I do know this one. This is like a 70s, maybe early 80s. It was basically the Death Wish thing. Charles Bronson found himself like no shortage of work and really built a kind of genre of films, not only in the US, but also in Italy. A lot of Italian films came out of this whole Death Wish, like the urban jungle that needs to be cleaned up. And so this is definitely within that vein.
Yeah, so this was 1973. So
wow, early. Is that earlier than Death Wish? It might be.
It was produced and directed by Michael Winner. Great last name.
Exactly. It was actually the year before Death Wish that came out. So that may be kind of classic in that it starts it. I'd have to look that up, but that's interesting.
Yeah. How about that? So,
yeah. Brilliant.
The Stone Killer.
Stone Killer.
On a similar vein, we've got Dressed to Kill.
Hold on. Let's get a good close-up of that, Timmy.
There you go. Nice widescreen version. Very important. Brian De Palma thriller.
Exactly. And Brian De Palma is a auteur in some ways. This is definitely one of his big films people love. I'm not a huge Brian De Palma fan, but I like the widescreen, the way in which the widescreen shows up on that VHS tape. Like
No,
it's such an
totally.
era, right?
Yeah. You had like that moment where you needed to know because TVs were changing, right? And you wanted, or if you, even with like the full frame TVs, you wanted the widescreen version to get all of the video in there. You didn't want any cropping, right? So
Exactly. Now, I think
yeah.
Dress to Kill is an 80s film, but I bet you because it's wide, they're saying it's widescreen, that's a 90s tape. So
So the movie I think might have actually come out in 1990, but this was packaged in 99. So that would make even more sense in terms of why they were specifying it to be widescreen. But yeah, I think it's very small type. My eyes are killing me here, but 1990 I think is when it actually came out.
1980.
80. Oh, there you go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was an erotic thriller starring Michael Caine, Angie Dickinson, who we'll hear more about, Nancy Allen, and Keith Gordon. And he was always playing with the Psycho stuff and the Hitchcock stuff. And I think he might be better in retrospect than at the time. I wasn't a fan because I was like, it's academic, but whatever.
Yeah. This actually mentions Hitchcock. It says in the tradition of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, Dress to Kill is an edge-of-seat thriller or chiller with a shocking last-minute plot twist.
Yeah, it's got some moments. Yeah.
Oh, next up, we have Moonlighting. She's a gorgeous model. He's a brash private eye. Together, they take on trouble, and the sparks fly.
Bruce Willis. This is when Bruce Willis gets his start. This is what makes Bruce Willis basically, he started off at TV and then he became like, can he work with film? And I think Die Hard was the film where he basically became
work big. Yeah.
Action hero stuff. But Moonlighting the movie, I don't know. I've seen the TV show. I don't remember ever seeing the movie.
Yeah. So this is 85. And this was Robert Butler, the director. So
nice.
Go.
It's a good haul.
Spin the wheel.
Thank you, Dan, for the great haul.
Started here. Next is a Roger Corman classic, digitally remastered. Angie Dickinson in Big Bad Miami 2. Big Bad Mama. I thought it was Miami. I'm a little dyslexic. Big Bad Miami.
Yeah, that's 2. That's Dress to Kill and Big Bad Mama 2, both with Angie Dickinson.
That's right. Absolutely.
And Roger Corman. And it's interesting because even in this era, you could see Roger Corman already starting to have his own little like VHS collection.
Yeah.
Because, he was basically the king of the B movies in the US. He figured out a way to make them successful, make them cheap. And he just took whatever anyone was doing that was successful in a cinema and just made a bad copy of it. And then so many directors got their start with him. Francis Ford Coppola, like down the line. It's crazy how many people.
So guess who's watching us on YouTube is none other than Xander Folks, former Reclaim Video superstar.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was asking about Gremlins, whether he thought it was 1984, but it was 85. So I'm just catching up on the comments. But
is it? Yeah. Is it 84? He might be right.
I don't know. The box says 85, but again,
let's see. Gremlins. If he comes in here and he corrects us, I think we can kick him off the stream, right? I think he might be right. I think it might be 84. Damn him. It is 84. Xander, you're good. You're damn good.
See, it's tough because a movie will come out, and then I think what they print on the box is when the actual tape comes out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true. And that shows you it's an original tape, right? That tape I like. It really is pristine. It's a great movie, and it's also a beautiful cover and tape.
So Xander, thank you for the comment. Appreciate it.
That's so cool.
Any other corrections in the comments, just let us know. All right. So next up, we have something from the Universal Monsters collection. So this is great. This is The Mummy's Curse. So these are always good things, right?
Let me make it full screen here. Do a little photo. Oh, bello.
Great.
So that's beautiful. Your camera's awesome. So that's cool because I think we have a fair amount of those Universal re-releases of the monster movies. Yeah. I think we have over 20, and I don't know how many there are. There's a bunch. So I'm going to have to count them up, but that's nice because he added a bunch. I shared with him our spreadsheet of everything we have, and he said, I'll fill in some of your gaps, which was awesome. So that was kind of, think about it. It's like having our own video curator.
I tell you, as a crossover to the arcade, one of the pinball machines that I've really wanted to get down to play at some point is a classic called Monster Bash, which has all of the various monsters, the Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, like those kind of style monsters in it. But it's supposedly a really super friendly to play pinball machine. Like it's got a lot of flow to it. It's very good for beginners, I've heard. And so I'd love to try playing it.
I'll tell you, the pinball is amazing. Like Guardians of the Galaxy should have a VHS cover, right? It just feels like a VHS because of the way it deals with cassettes.
Does. Didn't they come out with a cassette when the movie came out that you could buy? I think that's awesome. I love that kind of crossover stuff.
And I bet you someone made a VHS tape too of it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's definitely a thing in the community, right? Where people will rip things like Stranger Things. I know people have taken it and put it on VHS tapes and make their own covers for it and stuff. I think that's awesome. So,
right.
Super cool. Next up, an MGM classic with Willie Nelson, who's moving to acting.
Strangest one, the
Redheaded Stranger. Yeah, look at Willie Nelson looking really religious there. Like, come on.
He totally is.
Yeah. And a preacher turned outlaw.
It's so good. And Willie Nelson has such a crazy career. And the fact that he has like all of these Hollywood things he did, like growing up in the 70s and 80s, like Willie Nelson, you forget. He's such a like iconic figure. And then his whole like legalized marijuana stuff in the 90s and out. And like he's a figure. And he kind of was part of the whole psychedelic Western, which is a whole nother genre. So I'd like to see that one. Have not seen Redheaded Stranger, so that's a cool one.
All right, next up, and we're almost there here, is Boris Karloff, The Invisible Ray.
Yeah, look at that. That's a beautiful one.
Check out that cover. Yeah,
I love it.
Nice.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, that's a cool one. I want to watch that. Not seen it.
Yeah, so that one's black and white, in fact.
Yeah, cool.
1936.
Yeah, what an era. Those monster movies were amazing.
This one looks to be a collection about directors. It's called First Works. So it says it's a revealing look at today's greatest directors.
That's such an interesting one.
Yeah, so on the back it mentions, so they cover Roger Corman, who we talked about, Oliver Stone, Taylor Hackford, Spike Lee, Paul Mazursky, and Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like an anthology of their early kid or student films. So
and it looks like they've got interviews with all 6 of them and kind of talk through them. So
I think Spike Lee, one of his first films was about a barbershop in Brooklyn. Which, if it's on there, I'd love to see that. So
All right. Well, see, I don't think it's actual movies. I think that the tape is like interviews with these directors about their lives. So, like, I think it's actually sort of a meta, film. It talks like includes rare footage from their award-winning student films, clips from the blockbuster hits, interviews that reveal past tragedies and triumphs that shaped their work, things like that. So it's kind of like a documentary, a mini documentary on each of the various directors.
Yeah, and that's one of those films that's great, like when he sends stuff like that, because it's not a film per se. It's like an anthology bus that's like someone made. It's kind of one-off. It's odd, not very popular, so a cool thing to have.
That's cool. Next, this looks like something that should have been in Las Vegas. Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions. So, get your tickets today while it comes.
Vision, eat your heart out.
Was that competing with Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance? Or no, it's not quite the same.
I don't think so. I think I have to believe that's after Hellraiser, and anything he did, people would watch. And I wasn't a huge Hellraiser or Lord of Illusions or any of that fan.
Yeah, this is the director's cut, so it contains 12 minutes of footage too shocking to be shown in theaters.
Too shocking.
And I'm through my rotating thing, so I've got to go to the box. Let me
Timmy,
Move
you
some
are
stuff
killing
around
it.
here.
This is better than I even dreamed.
All right, so I'm going straight into the box here now. We've got, this is an interesting tape. So, Danger in the Depths, aka Dive to Danger. We've got sort of a dual title there.
What's in the shadows behind them? Like, is that a shark?
That's a good question. It is a shark, absolutely. Nice call there. So right there's the shark.
Great white. Yeah. Well, I have to see that. That's on my list.
Yeah.
Shark
movies. I know you're a
shark
guy. From the Red Coral Divers of Sardinia.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah. From the divers of Sardinia who dive without oxygen to depths of 350 feet. This is real? Holy crap. This isn't like a fake movie. This is about real divers that dive without oxygen.
I've heard about them here. Yeah, that's crazy.
Great. Yeah. Regularly encounter the great white shark. Men and women around the world face the hazards of working under the seas.
Wow. Could you imagine that was part of your day job? Yeah. Never mind the great white.
This one's called A Generation. So it looks to be a war trilogy. So that's what it says. War trilogy. A Generation, the first film, and oh Lord, I'm gonna brutalize this name. Wajda's Unplanned War Trilogy. Canal, Ashes and Diamonds. Began a Polish film renaissance.
Interesting. So a Polish film.
Yeah, 1954.
I have to see it. Yeah. That's new. So that's another good pickup. Thank you, Dan.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next, we've got Burl Lancaster in of The Swimmer.
I am super excited. This is an amazing movie. And the fact that we have a VHS copy of it, he basically goes from backyard to backyard. It's like this weird 60s movie swimming in different people's pools. And that's what the whole thing is. He just goes in people's pools and swims.
That's funny because, it's so funny that you mentioned this because I just found out that this person that I knew kind of lost his mind in Richmond and he got arrested and has a restraining order because he basically stripped naked and was hanging out in this person's hot tub while they weren't at their house. So it's kind of weird how like life kind of like comes full circle. The Swimmer.
It's an updated version of that.
Embarrassment, humiliation, and steamy passion.
It's a good movie. It's one of those strange 60s movies that I recommend. And Burt Lancaster's awesome. I love him.
Yeah. All right. Next up. Oh, my. I don't even think I can show the back here on the television. We've got Turkish Delight.
Ooh. Is that Rutger Hauer? Getting all
crazy.
Hot and bothered?
This is from Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah. He did Starship Troopers.
Total Recall and RoboCop, right? Yeah, this is Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
How about that?
Interesting.
Eric is an artist who lives life on the razor's edge. His sexual escapades with erotic models take on a ritualistic fervor. So, probably one you want to check out.
Yes, I might need a little Rutger Hauer, hot and bothered. And actually, our viewer Xander noted that The Swimmer is based on a short story. That's super good.
Is okay. Yes. Nice.
Thank you, Xander. We miss you at Reclaim Video. That's for sure.
We do. See, that's the kind of nuggets that earn that wage.
Who wrote the short story, Xander? That's the question for you.
Ooh. It's not fair.
Cheever? John Cheever, maybe? I don't know.
Moving right along, we'll come back to that. Another Universal monster. At this time, it is Frankenstein. So
classic.
We should keep these together so we can have a little box set.
Yeah. There we go. In fact, there's a bunch of those on the rack in the living room.
Yeah.
So we have a ton of those, right? And it was John Cheever who wrote The Swimmer. Yeah. Culture.
Y'all are smart people. Tell you what. Oh, I love the cover of this one. This is Shaka Zulu.
That's awesome.
This is a shiny cover, so let me make sure I can get that in there. So that actually says underneath, the most savage warrior of all time. True story of a tribal Africa during the turbulent 19th century. So
Yeah.
This is
What?
86 or 85, one of the two.
I bet you, yeah. That makes
86.
sense that it's an 80s film because there was a whole kind of like the gods must be crazy in both comedies, but then like a lot of like dramas dealing with, Africa as this kind of other world and Shaka Zulu, something you'd always hear about. Even in pop culture, people would say like Shaka or the whole idea of the Zulu tribe. Not that anyone really knew any of the history of the context, but that was definitely a presence, which is interesting.
Shaka Khan.
Because I feel for you.
We've got a $3.99 sticker tag over this, but I think it says Mario Van Peebles Solo.
Yeah, Van Peebles, absolutely. And it is solo. And Van Peebles, he was the son of Melvin Van Peebles, who did Sweet Back's Badass Song, which was like a 60s classic about a kid who grew up in a brothel and then went on to be like this crazy figure. And so Mario kind of takes forward the family tradition, and he did Posse, which was the African-American kind of Western. And here is another example of him doing this as a kind of the action adventure and kind of making a space in African-American culture in the 80s for, different kind of figures and different stars. So Van Peebles is an important part, like almost generation of filmmaking for 20, 30, 40 years, which is interesting.
I kind of love, and I'll zoom in here so you can see on the side art here.
Yeah.
So he's actually climbing down the side of the VHS tape there.
Oh, that's awesome. Look at that.
Great. Little nugget.
That's so cool.
All right.
It's actually fun to talk about these.
It is fun. We are just barely making it down into the box, so we've still got plenty more. This one is a Jackie Chan movie, Snake in the Eagle's Shadow.
Look at that.
So
beautiful.
Yeah, clearly a very early Jackie Chan film.
Before he does like Rumble in the Bronx in the 90s, which was a big breakout in the US.
So this is actually 78. So
wow. That's classic. I'd love to see it. Don't know it.
This says the film that made Jackie Chan a superstar.
Wow.
So, now, that's marketing speak. So, but
you got to think Bruce Lee just died like 5 years earlier. Or so like, there was that kind of vacuum, and someone like, actually Chuck Norris fought Bruce Lee in one of the films he made in Hong Kong, which is crazy to think about. Yeah. He was a villain.
This is one of my wife's favorite movies. She had a poster in her college dorm for it. Very trendy, especially for your generation, which is The Lost Boys.
Absolutely. All I can say is Gina.
Exactly. Yeah. This is like the banner film for the Gen X, right?
Totally. The 89, I think it was an 89 vampire film, takes place in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And it has like Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. And it's classic. And obviously
87, in fact. So
87.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If that's right. I mean, I've got road text that really
I think it might be right. Yeah. But then also it's got Kiefer Sutherland as the vampire, seemingly to pick up his role from Stand By Me.
Yeah.
Where he plays a kind of vampire there too.
Oh, I see another one. Now I'm getting to like pick a little bit because I can see a whole bunch over here. We've got, somebody mentioned the WWF to me, and I immediately thought of wrestling, and it turns out that it's like, about panda bears or something. But back then, WWF meant something. WrestleMania, baby. Like, it's not about saving the animals. It's about like, drop kicks. So no amount of hyperbole can put this event in proper context. WF Championship match: The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Placing you in the 90s.
Dude, check out The Rock. I mean, this is Dwayne Johnson long before.
Yeah.
Nope.
Let's get that zoomed in.
Yeah, come on. There we are.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So you've got all the players there. And who was the masked guy? Remind me his name.
I'm trying to think. The Undertaker, it might be, but let me make sure of that.
Yeah. Mankind, I think, right?
Maybe you're
Wasn't
right.
Yeah, I think Undertaker had the, like the trench coat and stuff, but I think Mankind had that mask, right?
Let me see. I think
So,
you're right, though.
and to be
Because
clear, like I
it shows
wasn't
you
huge
how
into
little I
wrestling.
know.
Yeah,
About
I wasn't huge into wrestling really. But other people I knew were, and it, because everything was pay per view, and we weren't paying for that, so it's just sort of like, if it came on regularly, I might be able to pick some of it up. But I grew up in a Baptist household, so this stuff kind of wasn't.
It was definitely Mankind. You were right.
Yeah,
Good call.
look at that. I picked up enough at the lunchroom counter, right? So, yeah. All right. Next, this one is actually. Oh no, it's not still in the wrapping. It's got cellophane over top, but it is open. This is A Ticket to Die. So
Interesting.
one.
I don't know that one.
So, no. So this one is. There's not a whole lot of information here. It's starring Louis Jordan, Helen Chanel, Daniel Turk, Claudia Lang. Tape recorded standard speed on high grade tape using a licensed shell. It actually says that on the front. Recorded in standard speed on high grade tape using a licensed shell.
Yeah, which means it's probably a terrible recording.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's not much about that one. Ticket to Die.
I mean, this is really sparse. I just get a little information about the movie itself. So I was trying to even get like a year and stuff. Yeah, for sure. Pop that one over here and pull on next. We've got Dark Wolf from Hollywood Video. Previously viewed movie, $5.99.
That's awesome. I love that.
Under a full moon, true terror begins. So 2002.
Yeah, that's
early 2000. Yeah,
that's definitely a throwaway.
Yeah,
that's the Roger Corman tradition. There's a wolf movie out. Let's make Dark Wolf.
Right. This one is called Horror Express. It's another sort of sparse film. This is 1972.
Telly Savalas.
Color film. Yeah, it's got Christopher Lee in it. The missing link discovered in China while being transported by train comes to life, and as you can guess, not so gently. Not for the faint of heart. Come back with us to China in 1906 and enjoy a bit of Oriental madness.
It's interesting. It's a Trans-Siberian 1972. That's cool. It's also known as the Horror. It's the Horror Express, but I think where was it? Who goes there? It was based on the novella by Eugenio Martin. Who goes there? Film has, you're right, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. So two gigantics. Interesting. Don't know that one. I got to watch that one. Brilliant.
What do we have next? We've got another Chuck Norris in Code of Silence.
Yeah, that might be the one that's broken. Open that one up and see if the tape is broken.
Yeah, the top. Well, yeah. Totally, the top is cracked.
Yeah, that's the one that was broken. Yeah, that's the one that came in with a little bit of crap on it.
Just means you have to do a tape transfer.
One. I do have to do a tape-to-tape transfer. I wish I could figure out how to replace those little back doors because those break a lot.
Now, was this Aaron Norris? No. Director starring Henry Silva. Screenplay directed by Andy Davis.
Andy Davis, Code of Silence. What year is that?
Silence. This was. I'm not seeing it anywhere here.
85.
Find it better. 85. Yeah.
Yeah. Henry Silva's in that, who's great because he's a great actor who then went over to Italy and did a lot of stuff there. He plays a great villain, and if you see him, you'd know him as soon as you see him. He's awesome.
All right. Next up, this vampire. Maybe this is In the Realm of Senses. No,
look at that.
Erotic thriller of some kind. Banned at its premiere at the New York Film Festival in 1976, this erotic masterpiece is now available in English. Based on one of Japan's most notorious scandals, in the realm of senses is the story of an ex-prostitute who becomes involved in an obsessive love affair with the master of the household in which she's employed as a servant.
Wow.
So 1976.
So a 1976 erotic classic.
Yeah. The Los Angeles Times says spectacularary erotic.
Wow. So Dan's digging deep on this one. Thank you, Dan.
He is.
We got that one from Verhoeven.
It has a quote at the top that says, "It turns me on because it's real," and it's by Madonna. The quote is from Madonna in 1976. That's so funny.
That's awesome.
Goodness gracious. Oh.
Like a virgin.
Hey.
Watched for the very first time.
Next one, James Stewart Hitchcock masterpiece, Vertigo.
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're just going to watch it and say, wow.
Yeah.
Many people argue his best.
Space. I'll put some stuff up here, but now I'm full on there again. So we're filling up. For sure. Speaking of erotica, we have the Red Shoe Diaries for autoerotica.
Tells us
the master of erotic filmmaking, Zalman King, drives an all-star cast to peak performance in this sensual journey of unbridled passion and ultimate pleasure.
Is David Duchovny in that?
Is he? I didn't even see. Hold on one second. He sure is. Absolutely.
He is, right? Yeah.
Good eye. Yeah. Hold on. Let me bring this in. There he is, right there.
And Ali Sheedy and Sheryl Lee.
Sheryl Lee. Yeah.
Look at that. I'm not big on the erotic classics, so
these are the kind of films that I would try to sneak under. Like, I'd hand my dad like a big stack at the VHS like rental place, and I'd be like, "Here we go," and he'd just hand them, check it out, hand them right back, and then I'd be like, "Good night," you know.
And he'd be like, "Is in the realm of senses so right for you to watch?"
And I'd say, "Dad, it's a story about like, you know, the five senses, touch, taste." Like, it's actually made by Sesame Street. Come on.
Madonna loves it.
Yeah. Next one we have The Serpent and the Rainbow. Don't bury me. I'm dead.
Wes Craven. I saw that in the theaters, man. That freaked me out. There's a scene where there's like ants coming out of a woman's cheek. It was so weird. And it's about like Haitian voodoo and all that stuff. It's actually pretty scary. I think it's an early vehicle for Bill Pullman or the other one who looks like Bill Pullman. There's two of them.
Bill Pullman is in here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this was after A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
So, 87.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater. I was like, what the? Yeah, Wes Craven's got a psycho mind.
Oh, this is great. King Kong, the eighth wonder of the world.
God, I love it.
Fay Wray, Bruce Cabot, Robert Armstrong, Cabot.
Yeah. And that's the original, right? That's from 33?
Yeah. It looks like. I don't know. This is a reprint, obviously. But
O'Brien, who did all that, which was the inspiration for Ray Harryhausen. All the animation in that one drove Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, because you've got like the black and white back here.
It's gorgeous. Let's get a close-up of that back. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful.
Yeah, and even the front, you can kind of tell it's, that early style.
That's great. Yeah.
Awesome.
The 1976 one is also great. And that one is like with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange. Mm-hmm. And that one is great. That was directed by, or it was produced by Dino De Laurentiis. And I think the 76 version is great, King Kong.
Yeah.
I love that one. They're coming out with a Blu-ray soon. I want to get it.
We're about halfway through this box, so we're moving right along.
I love it.
The next one we've got is The Stranger with Bonnie Bedelia.
And Peter Riegert? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Peter Riegert.
Again, that's one I don't know. We're gonna have to watch. I love it when I get all these ones I don't know. And he was good. This was a good haul because a lot of these are new to me.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Next here is another Hitchcock classic, Spellbound.
Yeah, look at that. And I love From the Library of.
From the
Right?
library of Phil and Lois Olson.
Isn't that so
Yeah,
cool? I love
it's
it.
awesome. Yeah,
And I think
good stuff.
am I right? Is
In-
Ingrid Bergman in that?
Ingrid Bergman. Yep, and Gregory Peck.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Surrounded by tapes all around me. This one is completely wrapped in plastic. This is Nowhere to Hide. So,
Ooh, it's brand new, huh? Look at
Tony
that.
Masanti. This is 1992. So,
Yeah.
notorious ruthless mobster. Blah blah blah.
I wonder
Death is his destiny.
and I guess that's on the, I don't know, on the heels of like Goodfellas. Because then in the early 90s, you had all these the return to the mob, just like after Godfather and all that. So
Right.
never heard of it. We got another fully wrapped one that I have up front on display in Reclaim Video is Spinal Tap. We got an untouched Spinal Tap too from this haul. So
that's really hard because like most of the time we're like, oh, these are meant to be played and like we want people to enjoy it, but it's like when it's still wrapped, it's like, oh, you know,
and we have
it's
a
like
bunch
so pristine, but you're like, oh, but it's Spinal Tap. I'm gonna watch it.
I don't
this
think
is weird.
any.
So we have an employee who is a big Beatles fan, and I know he'll be excited by this because this is Help.
That's a great one. That might be one of the nicer. I love that.
Whew. Yeah. So I need somebody.
Help.
Not just anybody.
Help.
This doesn't have a case, it doesn't look like, so it's just here, but it's a Iron Eagle 2.
Yeah, I saw that came without it, and that's kind of like Iron Eagle 2 and Iron Eagle have kind of come back up into pop culture thanks to Cobra Kai, because Johnny loves Iron Eagle. That's his favorite film of the era. So Iron Eagle and Iron Eagle 2.
This has a sticker on it that says Raps Bicycle Center in Butler, Pennsylvania.
How interesting.
I don't know what the bicycle center was, but
it might be one of those cases where anybody was renting VHS because anywhere you could get them.
Yeah, right. Ride the wave. The next one we have, the later one, The Forsaken.
Yeah.
So, this would be. I'm trying to find a date. Why do they make it so hard to know dates?
Late 90s, because it says since
right?
The sexiest thing since the Lost Boys. So, Forsaken. I don't know when that is. Forsaken. What movie is it called?
It looks like it might be around 2001.
Wow. So that would be a late VHS tape too. You know what I mean? Like one of those VHS tapes that you really don't see them because, you know,
the switch to DVD.
Switch to DVD's all but done.
All right. Next, we've got Bloodsport 3.
Oh, that's awesome. Van Damme, franchising, making a living right now.
Yeah, we've got Daniel Bernhardt, James Hong, John Rhys Davis. Nice.
I'll tell you, Bloodsport, the first one, though, really did blow my mind. I loved it. Yeah, I did love it.
I think we might have already had this one. This is exciting. Maybe. Tell me if I'm wrong, but Python?
We did have that one. Yeah. Very good. Do you know our collection?
I recognize stuff.
God. And Robert Englund.
Wild one. Yeah. I mean, just to give you a preview of what this movie is like, check out this photo.
Let's see. Oh, my God.
Like just a python rolling into someone while they're showering. If you're afraid of snakes, I don't think this is the movie for you, for sure.
I tell you, I saw a movie just the other night with Tess and Antonella called Crawl. And it was a disaster movie about a hurricane in Florida, but the whole idea was based on they're stuck underneath the crawl space, the water's coming up, and there's alligators in there with them.
Oh, no.
It was terrible, but great.
Lord, that touches on both like claustrophobia as well as like fear of things underwater and all that.
Exactly.
All right, so this is Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Berenger, A Murder of Crows.
Yeah, what a strange combo.
1998, it looks like.
Yeah.
So,
Strange. Don't know it at all. No clue about that one. That's so funny. A Murder of Crows. What?
Well, so you've got a lawyer. So I'm wondering if it's kind of like a John Grisham kind of thing, although
It probably is, right?
Yeah.
Or
Murder
Grisham
story.
is,
One man struggles with his responsibilities as a lawyer and with his appetite of his ego. New Orleans attorney Lawson Russell, Cuba Gooding Jr., puts his name on a bestseller he didn't write. However, the novel he stole was a factual account of a series of murders.
Interesting. I mean, Cuba Gooding Jr. is awesome, and Tom Berenger. Like, I can just think of The Platoon as how amazing he was. After that, I don't really know what he did that I would be interested in. Let's see it.
Spirit of the Eagle with Don Haggerty.
That's awesome.
What in the world? Grizzly Adams star Dan Haggerty blazes a trail into breathtaking wilderness adventure in this thrilling frontier tale for the entire family.
That's probably a good family movie. Kind of Prairie. Little House meets, Little House on the Prairie meets Grizzly Man.
In his tunic. Voodoo Dawn, James Russo.
Interesting. And you know who else is in that? Patricia Arquette. Is that right? And that's Michael Madsen.
Rosanna Arquette.
Rosanna Arquette and Michael Madsen.
Michael Madsen, Philip Glasser.
One of those throwaway late 90s movies. I don't know it. It might be great, but again, I don't know it.
Yeah, it's like New Orleans. It's the voodoo stuff and everything there. So
that voodoo that you do.
Hoodoo. Do what?
Let's hear
it. Farlab.
Farlab. Yeah. Again, that's what I love about this all. I have no idea.
This is just like a Seabiscuit. Feared by some, loved by one. In 1932, Courage had a name. Its name was Farlab.
Farlab.
Excellent stuff. The Land Unknown. Look at this one.
Oh, I'm liking. Let me get a close up of that. Nice. Yeah. That's almost like the first one you pulled out, Land of the Dinosaur, right?
Yeah, a Navy expedition led by Commander Hal Roberts is sent to explore a mysterious warm water region. While trying to repair the helicopter and forage for food, they discover they're not alone. The only female among them is journalist Margaret Hathaway, captured as sole survivor of the previous expedition.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Land Unknown. I think it's probably a 70s B movie.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, even earlier, dude. 1957.
You're right. Absolutely. Look at that.
Yeah. Universal. Next up, we've got Candyman. Farewell to the Flesh.
That's awesome. That series is amazing. The original is great, as is the sequel in many ways. But that's just, that's gorgeous. That's a classic.
Yeah.
And the premise of the original is so brilliant. It's like basically this ethnologist is studying a tenement house in Chicago. And there's this whole mythos about this Candyman, this figure that everyone in the project is afraid of. Turns out he's this real demon ghost. And it's powerful. It's super good because it deals with like the structural inequalities and the whole like idea of the projects, but then also this whole different mythos. It's so brilliantly done. Loved it. It was like a new kind of horror movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just great. I loved it.
We're starting to make some headway here. We're reaching the bottom of it. Let's see. So next up, we've got Scarred City.
Yeah. Stephen Baldwin, Tia Carrera, Charles Palminteri, all looking for a paycheck, which I respect. I mean, you're an actor. You got to act. But I wonder if it's any good.
From the writer of The Replacement Killers.
Yeah, exactly.
whatever that is.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Stephen Baldwin had an interesting career after, ripping up New York City hotel rooms.
So my wife was actually watching a remake. This is a more recently come back out, but this is a Nancy Drew film. And I guess Nancy Drew now has been remade on, I guess it's Netflix or one of those streaming services, Hulu maybe, whatever the case may be. But this is one of the older ones. This is 1977. Give you how long that franchise has been around.
Yeah, so. And I remember. The Nancy Drew books were definitely given out to us in elementary school, so that makes total sense. Yeah, there's some real gems in this. Loving it.
All right. Slamdance, an erotic thriller. It's not about dancing, and they underline not about dancing.
I watched this actually when the last time I was back in Reclaim Video. Yeah. And it stars the guy who was Mozart in Amadeus.
Okay.
I forget what his name is. And then Virginia Madsen.
Tom Holtke or Holtke?
Yeah, Tom Holtke or Holtke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he was great in Amadeus, but what he did in Amadeus doesn't translate well.
No.
But yet this is a film about wrong person. So 80s though. It's such an 80s film. And he's kind of a down and out. He's like degenerate. He's mixed up with the mob. And it's just, but he doesn't play that role. Like I'm not convinced by him at all. Whereas in Amadeus, it was one of the best performances ever. So it's such a weird thing to see an actor be so amazing. And then in one of his later pieces, not that much later, just miss the mark entirely.
Right.
I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. I wonder if it was writing or if it was something else. But.
Yeah. He was like the wrong person for the role. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. This one definitely don't recognize. A Matter of Principle.
Yeah, with Alan Arkin. Yeah, Alan Arkin, who is loved and respected, but I don't know that one either.
Yeah. His wife is in it too, Barbara Dana.
Interesting.
Stars Flag and Ada Purdy in this Christmas story about a poor Virginia couple with 11 children.
Interesting. Huh? Arkin he's amazing.
I've got to read it. Flag runs his life and family on strict principles. He does not believe in West Virginia, in letting his daughters leave home, or in Christmas.
That's pretty good, though, if he doesn't believe in West Virginia.
He doesn't believe in West Virginia, letting his daughters leave home, or Christmas.
I love it.
Lordy. Next up, we got Anthony Perkins in Psycho 3.
Yeah, because 1 and 2 was not enough.
When you strike gold, why not just keep digging?
And it was weird because, Psycho obviously created a whole new different kind of horror movie in some ways, like with the way in which he dealt with the psychological, but also the very visceral looking at the killing and being the killer. But then everything sat for the 70s and whatever, but then in the 80s, they kind of re-brought it 20, 30 years later. It's so interesting that it took that long, but then they kind of restarted it. And then they did a Psycho shot-for-shot remake, which I thought was so weird. Yeah. But whatever.
Next up, Redemption, Kickboxer 5. Payback can be deadly.
Redemption. You know how I feel about Redemption, although I know nothing about Mark Dacascos. Name.
Yeah. Dacascos. At least that's how I would pronounce it, but what do I know?
I guess Kickboxer 5 suggests that Kickboxer 1 through 4 were a reason enough to make 5.
I guess why not?
I'm telling you, he was digging deep for us.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, thank you for digging deep.
Yeah. If you catch COVID, you might be a super carrier. Richard Jekyll and Robert Hooks.
Yeah, again, that probably won't be at the top of the list of this films that I watched.
This is like the The B movie version of a Top Gun kind of situation.
It's a Top Gun for
yeah.
I guess a jet airplane carrier, right? I guess
something like that. Here we go. Blue. It's an older one.
You're my boy, Blue.
You're my boy. Paramount Pictures. When did this come out? 1968.
Wow. A Western. Blue.
Yeah. To escape his past, he had to destroy it.
It's one of those Start Again in the West videos.
That's right.
They're always good. The American tradition. Change your identity. Right. Gatsby.
Classic 90s film. Lighter.
Yeah, exactly.
1994.
Yeah, it's funny too because that whole remember there was the one with Val Kilmer.
This is the sequel. In fact, this is Return to Tombstone.
Yeah, exactly. Because Tombstone was the first one with like Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell, I think, and some of all those. And yeah, that was such a weird, the idea of returning to the Western. I guess Unforgiven was one too that like started it, but that was amazing. But I thought Tombstone was kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, really? That's all you got?
I didn't really grow up on the Western genre at all.
I really appreciated it when I went and started watching films in Los Angeles and everyone kept talking about the Western. And I was like, I don't really give a shit about the Western. Then I started watching some of them and people talking about them. And I was like, wow, like The Searchers, High Noon. And there's this long history, Rio Bravo. And you're like, oh, wait, now I get the sense that there's something going on in this genre that I didn't realize. So that was helpful.
Yeah. Westworld is more my style.
Which is a great one, right?
Yeah. Based on an untrue story, I believe is the actual title of this one.
Morgan Fairchild.
Real life stories and events from popular television movies are spoofed in this outrageous comedy. Huh.
That might be fun.
Yeah. It's kind of like an old school, like 1993 version of like Scary Movie, 1, 2, and 3. Like they're taking popular stuff, pop culture references and turning them into a comedy.
Yeah, and like the Groove Tube used to do that, and like the what was it, the Kentucky Fried Movie. So that's a cool tradition.
Yeah, Robert Goulet, Diane Cannon, Ricky Lake. Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Ricky Lake is a name I haven't heard, and look at that, Empty Box. We did it.
Wow.
We sure did. That wraps up the collection for January.
That was fun, man. I appreciate you doing that for January, you say, with a certain amount of chagrin.
Now we've got a system. I've got my situation here. We can make it happen a little bit easier. But this is a lot of fun. A lot of stuff that I didn't know. I mean, golly, I probably only knew 5 or 6 of these films. So
yeah, I probably knew half of them or a little bit. Yeah. But I think the next thing now is to just come up with a way which they can be archived pretty seamlessly while they're in Reclaim Video. And then we can have these up. So that's awesome, Tim. I appreciate you taking the time to go through these. And
absolutely.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
All right, buddy.
Later, folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.